Welcome everyone to the Creative Juggle Joy podcast. I'm your host, Kaylie Edwards, and I'm here with my amazing co-host, Delores Naskrent. Today, we're diving into an exciting topic, how to turn your creative hobbies into a side business.
Yeah, that's right. If you've ever thought about selling your artwork or crafts, but you weren't sure where to start, what to do, we're here to help guide you through that process.
Yes, you might be asking yourself, why would I want to start my own creative business? Well, there are so many reasons. For starters, you get to be your own boss, which is a game changer, so freeing, not having to report to somebody all the time. You can set your own hours, make decisions about your work, create the lifestyle you want.
Exactly. And don't forget the comfort of working from your own home. That's definitely the perk that I had for, just incentivizing myself to just follow through. I loved that you don't have to worry about losing your job or being stuck in a toxic workplace. If you've ever had that happen, you really wish there was a way to get out of it. Plus, if your family gets sick or you need a day off, you have flexibility. And I never had that in 30 years that I was teaching. I did not have that flexibility. So it's something to really covet.
Yeah, absolutely. But here's the thing. It's also totally fine if you want to enjoy your hobby without the pressure of turning it into a business. There's no right or wrong, only what feels right to you. So, Delores, what do you think are some key motivations for beginners who are considering the leap?
I think one of the key motivators is just wanting to have something different to do as a pastime. So a lot of the people that end up in my programs, they're there because they're curious more than anything. They have possibly not even considered the fact that they could make money with their art. They're just wanting to try something different, maybe have a bit of a hobby. And a lot of times it's not till they have been taking a few classes that they realize that there's potential there for them to have the additional income. And I really, really believe that for a lot of them, it's just a way to give themselves a better quality of life. Trust me, getting up and out of your house every single day for 30 years of working life gets really old. And I can remember relishing the snow days where we got a surprise at home day and that delicious feeling of not having to go anywhere. So those are all things that you're considering.
Oh,
when
yeah.
you decide to work on your own, yes.
Yes, I used to love snow days, even at school. So to kick us off, let's talk about the mindset shifts required for starting a side business. Cultivating a growth mindset is essential. If you haven't heard any of our other episodes, there's a few that go on about growth mindset and some of the mindset shifts you need for a business. So go back and listen to them if you haven't already. This means believing that you can develop your abilities over time. If anyone wants to dig deeper, I think it's in episode 7 where we explore it in detail.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so true. Most of us learned all about math and science, but where was that class on emotional intelligence or business skills that we all really should have taken?
Right? I know. I feel like a lot of what I learned in school did not prepare me in the slightest for the workplace or even starting running my own business or life in general. Like budgeting. We didn't do that in school, and you have to learn that when you get your own place. I was lucky in the fact that I had supported living when I first moved out of my mum and dad's. And I had a support worker that helped me fill out forms and do some of that budgeting. But if I hadn't had her, I would not have had a clue how to keep my expenses in check. So when you first embark on this journey, it can feel like you're stumbling in the dark. Your mindset can really hold you back. I remember having those moments where I take 2 steps forward and then 2 steps back because I was constantly doubting myself and my abilities to actually start and run a successful business.
I totally get that. I mean, imposter syndrome really just kind of sneaks up on you, especially, when you don't have a lot of experience. You just kind of don't know if you're doing the right thing. What was your biggest mindset shift, Kaylie?
Coming to terms with my own mind being against me and trying to hinder my progress was a big one for me.
Right.
It's still a thing that you got to go through. No matter how far on the journey you are, you know yourself that your mind can play tricks on you and try and hold you back, and you can do something that you've done a million times before and you still feel jitters going on live or something. And
Yeah.
I think just reminding myself that my creativity and my hard work will lead to success as long as I don't give up and I keep persisting. That's what kind of reminds me and keeps me going. Delores,
Yeah.
what about you? What mindset changes did you experience when you transitioned from crafting to teaching?
Well, that little bit of imposter syndrome would sneak in, but I would not let it take over at that point. I think I was just determined, and I felt confident in what I was teaching because I had taken the time to hone my skills. But I do admit, just like you, I still get those butterflies in my stomach when I have to do something live. As soon as I get talking about whatever it is, I'm okay. But it's just that the few seconds before, and then just those few seconds when you start, I kind of would get that flop in my stomach. But now I try to interpret it differently. Like mentally, I make my brain interpret it as excitement rather than fear. And it's kind of like a trick. It makes me think to myself, this is going to be great. This is going to be great rather than thinking, oh no, I think the mindset shift has made a huge difference in the way I show up for people. I've really noticed that recently anyways.
Oh yeah, I think it was Mel Robbins who did like I think it was a TED talk, and she went on about changing that fear because she had a fear of speaking, and she had to. I can't remember if she researched it or something, and that the fear that you have, that stress that you have, is actually the same symptoms as what you'd feel if you were excited. And she was like, this is how you need to do it. You need to trick your brain into thinking that you're excited about it rather than thinking of the fear of it. And it's trying to find something you can hold on to, like think of something in the future of that thing that you're scared of. How would that make you feel in a different way if it went right? And try and think of that before you do it. And I think that's what she did in her TED talk. And ever since I watched that, that's how I kind of work it myself, is, pinpoint a moment that will be really good if this goes right, and just think of that, and then that gets me through.
That's awesome. That's a great way to think of it.
Yeah, I just love how age or life stage doesn't dictate your ability to start anew. It's the same with Mel Robbins. She started later in life with her her current thing that she's doing now. However, I completely understand that for many older creatives, stepping into the entrepreneurial world can feel like an uphill battle, especially in the digital space. If you're not used to the tech, there's often a cloud of fear looming over us: fear of tech, fear of judgment, fear of failure, and sometimes even the fear of success itself. And I feel as women, we face unique challenges as well. Societal expectations can weigh heavily on our shoulders, and unfortunately, we don't always receive the support we deserve to chase our dreams.
Yeah.
It can be incredibly disheartening when negativity arises from our own loved ones or inner circles. Their doubt can seep into our minds and create a barrier to pursuing what we truly want. And I see it so often with creatives that have hobbies and just don't want to pursue a business or pursue selling their art because they have that negativity around them, and they don't want their family to pull them further down.
Yeah.
In moments like these, it becomes even more crucial to nurture our mindset and commit to self-development. Remembering to take that first leap can be the hardest part, but it's always where the magic begins. Overcoming those fears, starts with small, courageous steps, like sharing your work with a trusted friend or family member. And if you don't have any, seek out others who are at a similar stage to you. Building a supportive community is vital. It's surrounding ourselves with encouraging voices can provide the strength we need to push past our doubts and negativity of others. Embrace the journey, I'd say, and the challenges that come with it, because that is how we grow in life.
That's
Every
right.
step, no matter how small, is a move towards your dreams. That's what I say. Remember, many successful creatives begin their journeys later in life, proving that it's never too late to follow your passion. When you embrace your creative journey, you open the door to rewarding experiences and profound personal growth. And it's just so rewarding. And I feel a lot of people are missing that because they don't push past them doubts and the negativity. And it's such a shame. Delores, from your experience, what advice would you give to someone who might be feeling held back by fear or doubt, especially if they're navigating this journey later in life? How can they find the courage to take that first step?
You know, two things jumped out while you were talking. And one of them, when you're talking about the support, especially the support of someone who understands what you're trying to do, I found that really made a huge, huge difference for me. And I am really trying to create that same thing for my students, because you're right. A lot of them are feeling a little bit, what's the word for it? Tentative about taking that next step. And I think that if you are in a group with other people and you actually talk about that feeling, that it can make a huge difference, because you're not the only one feeling it. I can guarantee you that there are many people feeling it. Our group is fairly small. You know, if you have a group that's, 10 people or less or thereabouts, it's great because everybody has a chance to share. And what I have found in the last few months in groups like that, and especially in our Thrive group, is that people are so eager to actually share what they have done, what they have created, and it helps them to really build up their self-esteem. So I love it. I love being a part of the group and hearing all of that. And one of the things that happens is that these people are encouraged to do more. And the more that they do is the more practice that they get. And I really find for myself personally that practicing helps me so much, like even something like reading the script for a class that I'm about to record and maybe reading it 2 or 3 times out loud, that it really helps me to be more courageous. No one else can see that I'm nervous at that point, I'd have gotten over the worst of it. But I feel like just having said it out loud a few times, that it really makes a difference. And so I do that both in my practice right now as a teacher, but also in my practice as an artist. And I think that the repetition of something is going to get you feeling more confident. And then that will, help you get into that first step, or get you to at least have the courage to continue stepping in that one direction,
Oh, yeah. Practicing is such a key thing as a creative and in life itself. Like everything you do, you need to practice to get good at things. Not many people are born with an inherent talent for everything. And with art, you can tell with people, the difference between artists can be a lot of the time is down to practice. It's not all down to education either. You look at some artists, they haven't had that education formally, but because they've spent hours and hours practicing and they spend hours and hours on a piece, you can see it, the detail they've gone into it. And there was one lady I found, can't remember what she's called. It was while I was scrolling on Instagram. I found it. she'd done this huge canvas, and it looked like a bokeh effect that, from photography. It's just such a beautiful effect that she created, and they were just such round circles, but she was doing them freehand. I thought,
Wow.
that's incredible how she's done that. I know a lot of people would just be like, would scroll past and wouldn't care, but it's so hard to do circles freehand, and the fact that she's got these circles almost perfect, and there's hundreds of them on this canvas, I thought, that's just how you know the difference between an artist who, practices and one that's just throws it out there. And I'm not saying to anybody, if they're starting out, that you should just practice for hours and not put your art out there. You should, because that's how you'll get good, is putting it out there and just starting. And then you get feedback from other people as well, and you know then how to adjust and find your style.
Yeah.
And that leads me on to another thing that we need to look at, identifying your creative niche. So finding a niche is crucial for turning a hobby into a business. And there's no point just putting things out that you just like, because yes, you might find some people that like the same things that you do, but you still need to find a niche that you can focus on, because you'll see better results with a niche to follow through with. A niche is simply a specific area of focus within a larger market, and it helps you stand out by targeting a particular audience for your artwork or your other creations and products. It's about discovering what makes you unique and your products unique, and how you can offer value to others.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%, because I think what's kind of written into that, what you're saying, is the idea of developing a style that's recognizable. And the more you repeat that, because you've decided to specifically target that audience, that goes right back into that repetition and that development of you as an artist and of your art. So it really helps you stand out. In the long run, it really helps you stand out in the crowded marketplaces, because you've got that specific audience that's going to be specifically looking for that thing. And it's all about discovering what makes you unique.
I encourage our listeners to reflect on their skills and passions. What do you love to create? You can do a quick market check on sites like Etsy or Pinterest to see what's trending. Fun fact, Etsy even sends out trend reports as well, so you can even look at what's trending for the next year coming, which is super helpful. But don't just run with whatever's trending. What do you like doing? What styles do you like creating? What topics or themes do you like to do? I get it. Some people just love painting everything. Like, I am one of those people. I love to paint everything, apart from people. I'm not very good at people. So that's kind of a thing for me. Like, I don't like doing people, although I'm very good at drawing eyes for some weird reason. But there we go. That was one thing I had to focus on in art, was hands and eyes, because those are the two things I couldn't do. But then, I got really good at doing eyes.
That's excellent.
So but I love creating, painting and drawing animals and nature, everything to do with that. Like, that's my favorite, and fantasy stuff. That's kind of my thing.
Right.
So it's trying to find a style. If your style is like, you like seascapes, but you like other things as well, try and hone in on one topic to start off with, and then start to expand as you start getting customers.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, my journey in digital art was all about that experimenting, like just trying to figure out exactly what I enjoyed doing. And for me, in most cases, it often ends up as being some kind of a mixed media piece, which ironically was what I liked doing when I was doing more analog kind of art. So it's kind of come right back to almost the same thing, except I'm now doing it on my iPad rather than doing it in an art journal. So it's interesting how that all works. And I really love your idea of checking out those trend reports. And almost every site that sells art has some kind of trend report. So if you are really into doing large abstract art, for example, then go to a site that sells large abstract art, and they'll usually have a trend category that you can take a look through. And that's a great way to just kind of get your creative juices flowing.
Oh, yeah.
How did you end up discovering your niche? I'm curious, Kaylie. I've never asked you this.
I started off with my candle business, so that was a different story. Then I had to pivot again whilst I was on maternity leave, and I set up my Etsy shop. And with my Etsy shop, I did a lot of that trend research, looking in what was trending and like themes and colours and things that were popular at that moment. But then I
Right.
also looked at what I liked and what I could have done with at the time, because I just had my son. So obviously I was a new mum. So I looked at things that new mums might want. So like a baby journal and things like that. That was the thing I started to look at. I could target for mums. I didn't really know what I was doing. The new mum. I don't think anything prepares you for being a parent.
No.
No matter how many people tell you what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. And I think I just kind of went for things that I would have liked to have. So like pregnancy journal or like a custom name nursery prints. I did a few of them on my Etsy shop. I went through like themes of like boys and girls. I was setting up a template with the theme, and then I would put the letters, and then I'd do the customization option on Etsy, so people could contact me and get it customized as well. So basically, I could just open my Canva doc, which was my template, and just change the name, and then re-download it and then send it to them in the email, because I was doing the printables. So that was kind of how I did some of the wall art. And then obviously this business kind of started off with just, I was a bit hesitant about doing it because I was trying to do it quite quickly. I started off with just targeting females in entrepreneurship, which is actually quite a broad category. And then, I was just searching around, and I found I was taking a course for freelancing, and then found somebody who showed me how to find other people who I could contact and get hold of. And then I came through Skillshare and Udemy and finding people that I could get to know. And obviously that's how I found you.
Yes. I think it was through Udemy, but that is true.
Udemy,
yeah. Yeah. And I don't even really post anything there anymore, but it's interesting. It's always interesting to hear others, how they journeyed into the position that they're in. And, really that's exactly what happens. You start kind of exploring a certain thing, and then it leads you to something else. And I had been working with my one agent out of the blue. That is the name of his company. And I was doing large kind of abstract art pieces. And I was liking it. There was nothing wrong with it. And I still work for him. I still submit art, and I still get royalties from anything that's sold on the sites that he has secured for me. But I also wanted to try my hand at print on demand. So it was at about that same time. And because I had been doing these big digital art pieces, I just kind of took that and took them and used them as backgrounds and started to add lettering to them. I had done that with my craft sale stuff, adding quotes to some kind of a painted background or some artwork that I'd done in my art journals. And so I had, it was kind of a easy transition to taking some of those backgrounds, adding lettering, setting up the artwork efficiently so that I could use it on all kinds of different shapes and sizes of items, on POD sites like Society6, I think was the first one I tried. Then I did Redbubble. And the third one that I got into was Zazzle. And surprisingly, out of the three of them, Zazzle ended up being where I was selling the best. And so, of course, that's what I ended up just, you know, exploring that whole thing about market demand and looking at, I would be stalking the site when they'd be putting up the list of the most popular items. Well, as soon as I saw what the most popular item was, then I would try to figure out ways to do it myself. So it's kind of funny how, you're looking at something and you're experimenting with something, and then all of a sudden that becomes something sellable. It changes everything.
Oh yeah, it does. Like print on demand, I think just opened my eyes so much to the possibilities of what you could do online when I came across it. I think I was on Etsy, and somebody put in their description, I was looking at some of the stuff they were doing. It was like, how are they selling so much? They're not selling it from their own place. Like, they're not making this stuff themselves. Because it was just this woman, I can't remember where she was from, like Illinois or something like that. And I was like, what? She's selling all of this custom T-shirts and mugs and things. If she's not creating them herself. And then that's how I got onto print on demand, I think. And then I found YouTube videos on how to do it. And yeah, and then I started with Printify integration in my Etsy shop. It's a bit time consuming, but it is. But the fact that you don't have to hold your own inventory and make your own things, I just find it's brilliant, especially when you have a toddler, a baby. I had a baby at the time, but yeah, that was such a game changer.
It totally is, because if you're that person who was making all of your stuff by hand and, trying to keep up with producing enough stuff to have a good amount of stock to go into a pop-up or a craft sale, or even to put into stores, once you realize that you don't have to do all that work yourself, you can get somebody else to do it. And I mean, that really was like, wow, like mind blowing. And then when you didn't even have to ship it, that was so huge.
Yeah, that because when I did my handmade candle business, that was the one thing that I absolutely hated, was shipping my product. So that's why I loved going to the craft fairs, because I didn't have to ship them. I didn't have to sit there for hours putting them all in boxes and making them up pretty, and then because obviously I don't drive, so it was so much more difficult because I had to lumber all these boxes and find somebody to take me to the post office. So yeah, I'm so glad that bit's over with. But Delores, I know it's all about exploring and finding that sweet spot where your passion meets market demand. Yes. How do you realize digital art was the right niche for you?
Well, it was that exact journey, because I had been always a person that would, love just sitting and drawing and sketching. And of course, originally it was in analog form. And I was taking stuff to craft sales and having stuff in local shops, even had my own shop for a little while. But, it was super time consuming, because I would be hand painting these things. And then also just to try to figure out what was the thing that you're going to hand paint that the person is going to buy. So you could be great at hand painting, but if you're not creating a product that a person wants, they're not necessarily going to be buying from you. Your flat paintings weren't, for me anyways, were not the thing that would sell. If I painted a chair, like I would take a wooden chair and refinish it and spend 2 weeks painting with just a lot of detail and just a gorgeous finished piece, but it had taken me 2 weeks to do it. And so no matter what I sold it for, I was probably losing money every single time I did that. So I think for me, once I realized that I could really increase my production by doing things digitally, it changed everything, because even at first, I wasn't painting and drawing in the software so much as just scanning or photographing some piece that I had done and then putting it into the software and then adding lettering or quotes of some sort. And it wasn't until really, honestly, until the iPad came along that it really made everything gel for me anyways. I was completely comfortable with the sketching and drawing already. So that was a completely new thing for me, was to take it, instead of doing it in a sketchbook or journal or on a piece of wood or whatever I was painting. It was so different because I think it made everything just feel new again. And it put the excitement back into it for me, honestly. I was so excited when I was first illustrating on my iPad, and this was well before Procreate, you guys. If you're listening to this, it was prehistoric. I think the first software that I was able to do that with on my iPad was called Art Rage. I think it still exists. It's a really simple
Yeah.
program, but it was amazing. Like, I was able to, do a lot of the stuff that I could do with natural media. And the more excited I got about it, and at that time in the schools, students didn't have iPads. Like, nobody owned iPads. Only the teachers had iPads. And I had gotten one for Christmas, and I was so excited about this product and what I was doing, that my students started to get excited about it. And next thing I knew, my students were bringing iPads from home, or we would have a single iPad in the entire school that we could sign out, bring it into the classroom. But people were excited about it. So I think that it's just something that gives you a really good energy. And the more you get excited about it, the more everybody around you gets excited about it.
Oh yeah, I remember doing like Photoshop and things on like the laptops and the PCs at school, and I was just so excited when I got to play around with digital things.
Yeah.
But then when it came to actually doing it for figuring out how to sell, I felt a little bit like I was cheating. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm so used to painting and sketching and
Yeah.
using clay and doing sculptures and things. When I actually came to doing digitally, I thought it feels like I'm not actually doing art. But then obviously that over time you start realizing actually how much you can do with it, and
Yeah.
how arty you can get and how creative you can get with digital art. And it then becomes so freeing, because then you don't have to get all your supplies out. You don't have to tidy up after yourself after you've finished. And with the toddler, it's just a mess. Because I cannot get paint back with my toddler because he's just in everything. So now
Yeah.
it's just, Affinity Designer is my favourite, and Canva I'm in all the time.
Great.
Yeah, I love them. So starting small is essential for minimising risk and building confidence. When I began my journey, I focused on creating small batches of candles, and this approach allowed me to experiment with scents and designs without overwhelming myself. It was a great way to learn what worked and what didn't.
That's a good way to go, when you're first starting out, especially. What do you recommend for newbies?
I recommend starting with one platform to sell your product. PayHit is a fantastic option for beginners. It's a free website hosting platform. It's user-friendly. That's what I started off with, and allows you to set up a shop without any upfront costs. So if you're selling digital products, anything like that, that's brilliant. You can also sell physical products on there. You can even do courses and memberships within PayHit. Yeah. It takes a small percentage of the sales, but they offer various pricing plans as well if you want to reduce the cut they take. Personally, I just went and stuck with the free plan because it provided a great deal. I tried with WordPress and I just went down a complete rabbit hole with it. I probably spent more on WordPress, even though it's free. But the plugins and the themes and stuff, they're not always free, so it does mount up after a while.
Yeah.
So I would say find a website that you can start with, like PayHip or Squarespace. They integrate with print-on-demand sites as well. So if you want to go that route, you can do through Squarespace. I found out the other week.
Okay.
Wix, they do the same, depending on the pricing plan that you choose. But once you're settled, you can branch out to other marketplaces like Etsy and Zazzle and Hardisle. All those, you can start using them, but I would highly recommend getting a website up and start putting products on there and drive traffic to that. And then obviously start with like the likes of Etsy, because at least then you're secure in the fact that you own the website, not renting space on Etsy and potentially being shut down. This strategy in particular is beneficial because if one platform encounters issues, you'll have others to rely on. I learned that the hard way. I had over 135 products listed on my Etsy shop when I was creating printables and designs for clothes and decor. When I had to step away, my shop listings went down, and now I have to start all over again. I renewed my listings the other day on my Etsy shop.
Great.
But then I realised after I'd done it, I was like, do I really have the time to go back to it? Well, we'll see. I renewed my Christmas listings and everything, so maybe I'll get a few sales from it. But if I don't, then I'll just have to wait until I've got some more time to work on that.
Right.
You know, it's a reminder that diversifying where you sell your products can be a crucial step in protecting your efforts as well. Because if they're all gone, they're all gone. You know, you want to be making sure that you've got what they called a backup plan when it comes to a business.
Absolutely. It's great advice. Anybody listening today, just try not to put all of your eggs in one basket.
Yes.
Have you got any other advice, Kaylie? Because you're just like on the advice. You're on a roll today. What other small steps, like when you're first starting out, what are the small steps that someone can take? If one of our listeners here, if you could even offer one of the juiciest little tidbits that you have, that would be great.
Well, beyond choosing where to sell, there are other small steps to focus on when starting. One, set realistic goals, because I've done it before I'd set too high a goal. Start small and then work your way up. Obviously, still have something that is ambitious, because you want to be reaching further than you're comfortable with, because that is how you grow. So begin outlining what you want to achieve. That could be as simple as creating a certain number of products each week, setting sales target for your first month. Setting small, achievable goals can help keep you motivated and give you a sense of accomplishment as well, and a focus. 2, I would create a routine. So establishing a regular routine for your creative work can help you stay focused and productive. Whether it's dedicating specific hours each week to creating or marketing your products, consistency will help you build momentum. And even if it's only small things, if it's consistent over time, it will compound and you will see results over time. 3, seek feedback. Don't be afraid to ask friends or family or online communities that you're part of for feedback on your creations and your business. It can help you refine your products and better understand what resonates with your potential customers as well, which is invaluable if you know what your customers want. 4, keep learning. Embrace a mindset of continuous improvement, people. Look for online courses or workshops related to your craft and your business skills, because that is one, nobody has business skills to start off with, and you do need to work on them. I still work on mine. The more you know, the better equipped you'll be to succeed. But don't fall down the rabbit hole of just buying a load of courses and never actually using them or implementing them, because I have so many courses that I haven't actually finished yet. Or I've gone through them and then actually not implemented it, but at least I've still got the knowledge in my head.
Exactly.
Another one I would do is document your journey as well. That's one thing I wish I'd done more of, is keep track of what I'm learning, how my journey's going, any challenges I faced.
Yeah.
That this can not only help you reflect on your progress and give you a little boost as well, because once you start seeing that you have had progress, it also serves as a valuable resource if you decide to share your experiences with others in the future.
Yes.
One lady I love is Carrie Green, and she's fabulous at doing it. She has journaled and had a diary for years. Like, I think the first diary entry that she ever had was like 2011 or something like that. And I love Carrie Green because she goes on about it, and she sometimes goes, if she's doing a live and it's relevant, she will go back through her journals from past years of when she first started a business, and will show you the progress that she's made and what she said on those days. Some of it's a lot of swearing, but that would be in my journal as well if I journaled enough. But
Yeah.
she journaled her ups and downs, and I think that is an important part of business that you should do. I didn't do enough of it, and I wish I had. And even the bad days, if you can look back and go, that was a really crappy day, but I carried on. I got through it. The next day wasn't as bad. Then I think it's a progress that you can look back on and share with others.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with all of that, Kaylie. Even just sometimes the fact that something that was so big and so significant, when you look at the big picture, like you're looking back at your last 5 years, you're sometimes looking back at that thing and going, why did I think that was such a big deal? Because in the end, it really wasn't. So I totally agree with it. Everything you said here, like those are I think it was 5 great points. And I agree with every single one of them. And I love the idea of putting systems in place, because I think that's what helps you to be consistent. So keeping a list of all of those strategies that you just listed there, Kaylie, is a great way to start, and just revisit them on a regular basis. Maybe at the beginning of every month or something. Put it at the beginning of your journal, your diary, or your planner. Just stop yourself at the beginning of every month and just reflect on that previous month. And I think it'll get easier as you go through that process, because you're going to be seeing these different things that you are doing on a regular basis, and you'll get to know which one of those things are really benefiting your business. And I think it gets easier as long as you keep at it, and you're going to get much better and much more comfortable at working within that rhythm. So even somebody like you, Kaylie, with a toddler, you've got things worked out now in such a way between all of your sort of scheduled things that are going to happen no matter what, when your husband's home, when you're making dinners, when you're putting your son to bed. All of those things kind of play into that whole idea of having a routine and a rhythm. And I think when you have that, you are able to worry less and work more.
Yeah. All I'll say is, when you've got a toddler, sometimes the transitions can be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I'm
Because
sure.
start getting used to a routine, and then suddenly it needs to change.
Yeah.
And then it's like scramble day. I need to put everything back in place of what do I need to do when, how to plan everything out again.
Yeah.
But that just comes down to, I would say, you need to be flexible when it comes to business, especially if you've got responsibilities in your personal life, like children, or you're caring for a family member or for somebody else. So, yeah, I would definitely say you need to be flexible and always try and stick to a schedule when you can. But it's definitely a must, because running a business, you need to know what's going on.
Yeah. And it makes it easier then to shift, because if you do have to change your schedule, you just have to relocate that thing that you were doing at that time to another time slot. But you can still keep doing that thing. It just has to be reworked. And knowing what that system is for yourself, what that schedule is, the kind of things that you have to do, then you are able to kind of work it all in if it has to change.
Oh, yeah. What small steps did you take when starting your journey into selling your art?
Well, I kind of did that, like scheduling and just saying to myself, listen, if I want to make this work, I'm going to have to figure it out. And I was still working full time all day, every day at that point. So I really had to be disciplined about producing art. I would carve out as much time as I possibly could every single day. And, honestly, sometimes that meant I was working through my lunch hours. I was at work working, but I would also, during that 1 hour of lunch, I would sit down and do some art, or I would take it with me and have it just as long as I had it on my person, wherever I was, that I was suddenly just sitting there, either waiting for something or watching my kids at a game, not really watching, but kind of watching. I would always have art with me that I could do just anytime. And sometimes, honestly, they were like 10-minute illustrations. But then when I had a chance, I would take and finish that. I would finish the artwork. I would be able to because I would have already gotten the start, the idea, and the bones of the project kind of on paper. And so that would help me, in the long run. And at that time, I still wasn't even doing any online sales at all, but I just knew what I needed to have in place for when our craft sale season would start.
Yes, that's definitely something that I think listeners can relate to. Sometimes you have to just find the pockets of time to do your art and get started. And when it comes to business tasks, you can split them up into pockets of time and do them.
Mm-hmm.
There's no excuse, I don't think. Sometimes you feel like there's no time in the day to do it when you've got so much stuff going on. But if you really thought about it, what can you sacrifice in some areas? Like if you spend hours watching TV at night, vegging out, if your kids are gone to bed, could that be more productive time? I know sometimes it can be difficult if you're knackered, because I feel like that all the time. But
that is that's my most productive art time is
yeah,
when I'm TV with my husband because, I kind of am watching the show, but at the same time, I'm also drawing or doodling or finishing some piece of artwork. So it for me is the time when I'm doing a lot of my art.
yes, I totally agree. Let's outline some practical steps for our listeners for turning your hobby into a business if you haven't already. 1, I
Okay.
would create a simple business plan. I know that sounds scary, but I'm telling you, it's not. You can literally do a 1-page business plan that can help clarify your goals and your actions. It doesn't have to be complicated. Just jot down a mission statement, your target audience, product offerings, and some market strategies that you want to start with. It'll serve you so well as a roadmap and you can move forward. It's sometimes just getting some things on paper is really helpful. You don't have to go for a full out market plan, but I would definitely get one set up. I wish I'd done that a bit more when I first started my first business. 2, obviously we've already said this, setting realistic goals. So breaking your goals down into achievable milestones. So for example, aim to create a certain number of products each week. Set a sales target for the first month. Celebrating your small wins helps provide a big boost of morale as you progress.
Yeah.
So I would celebrate small and big wins. Have a few rewards that you can choose. Like one of my big rewards I want to do next year. It might sound extravagant for some people, and it does to me, but I want to take my mum on a spa day. Because I've never been, she's never been, and I think that is just something that I could really do with, and so can my mum. And that is one of my goals for next year, but it'll also be a reward for completing goals that I finish in the first 2 quarters. So that's a goal for me. for small wins is I get to watch my TV show for an hour. That's a small reward for me if I have completed my tasks for the day.
Yeah.
So it's just picking out things that you can do to get you motivated.
I love it.
And trying to sacrifice it if you do not hit your goals, because then at least then it helps motivate you to do the next day.
Yeah.
Another one, budgeting for supplies and marketing. People, please budget, because I've done this. I overspend, and then at the end of the month, when you haven't got what you need to finish a few bills off, is scary. So track your spending. It's crucial to avoid overspending. List out all your potential costs if you haven't started yet, including any materials, marketing, any platform fees. This will help give you a clear picture of your financial landscape and help you make informed decisions moving forward. Make sure to keep all your receipts and your invoices. You may not need to declare anything for the first year. If you're in the UK, that is. I don't know about any other country. I can't attest that. Find someone who can do financial things for you. But keep it all in case you do, and make sure to check your country for the rules and laws around business tax. I am not a lawyer. I only know enough to get by in the UK. So please make sure that you keep all your receipts and everything. Anything you spend, anything you think you can use as an expense, keep that behind as well, I would say. Because sometimes you can claim for, like I know in the UK, you can claim a portion for like internet if you're an online business from home. So things like that, you just want to have a look at.
Yeah, don't forget all those little things that come with being in business. And I know it can sound scary. You've listened to us talking about all these different things today, and it seems like a lot, but if you break it down, it's very manageable, and it takes a little bit of time to get all this set up, but it'll be more than worth it to just have the systems in place. You don't want to be at the end of the year trying to figure out all that kind of stuff in retrospect. You want to be doing it in advance and just kind of giving yourself the groundwork to do it in an organized way. And then,
most definitely.
I definitely want to emphasize what we talked about today with setting up the online presence for sure. So if you can start early, do it. Like if you have time, do your basic website, put up a portfolio, have a few lovely pieces that showcase your work that you can use to attract potential customers and collaborators. Like you can have all of that as a work in progress. As you are completing your beautiful pieces, you can be photographing them and putting them online and building up that portfolio. I don't think you're going to regret that at all. And I think that a lot of us as artists really hesitate at the beginning to do that. And I think it should be the opposite. You should get your work up there as soon as you can, as you're starting to develop maybe a possible line of products or a style, and you can always replace it. So don't let it stop you.
Oh yeah, like portfolios is so important if you're an artist or a creative. If you want to attract people to buying your things, or even if you want to get into people's stores and things, you want to have a portfolio of your work. And try not to rush too much with it, because I did that. I wanted to get on a marketplace called Creative Juggle. I love buying stuff off of there, and I had a subscription with them, and it turns out I could sell my own digital art on there and my own templates and things, but they wanted a portfolio sent into them before they would accept you. I rushed to get it up, and the problem was I didn't. Some of my artwork that I'd used were some of them had little bits of clip art from other people, and they flagged me. Now, it was my fault. I didn't check my artwork had some of the clip art from previous buys that I'd done. And yeah, it annoyed me, because then obviously they rejected me and I had to wait 3 months to resubmit my portfolio. So what I'd say is make sure you check that if you are doing a portfolio, make sure it's your own artwork first. I know it's so easy to buy a load of clip art and stick it all together and add your unique twist to it. I do it, and there's nothing wrong with it. But if you're going to try and get it on other sites, or if you want to get your art license, make sure that it is your own, or at least changed enough to be part of your own.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say.
Yeah.
So it's wise to obviously choose one social media platform that feels comfortable for you and where your ideal customer hangs out. So, for example, if you're selling handmade crafts, places like Pinterest and Instagram might be a great fit due to its visual nature. A simple Google search can give you insights into which platforms are best for your niche as well. Using social media, I would consider starting with one platform that resonates with you and with your audience, so figure out if the people that you're trying to target are actually on there first. Facebook's obviously great for community engagement. TikTok, obviously a lot for fun. So focus on your efforts wherever you can, and you don't need to be everywhere at once. So start with one and then move off to the next. Delores, what advice do you have for someone who feels a bit overwhelmed by the thought of creating a business plan?
Just do it. Just get started. Just, you know what? Even if it's just a rough outline, if you see it on paper, it makes you start to think about it differently. I can remember just kind of roughly outlining a kind of a plan that I had. And then the fact that it was on paper, I could be lying in bed at night, like just pitch black, and I would be visualizing that piece of paper. And the next day I'd be able to go in and add some stuff, maybe additional points or a little bit more detail, things that I might not have originally considered. And it really helped me to start gelling a plan together. You know what I mean? I think that process is what's important. It's that you can, I think having it, you can then just dig in and start working on it. So if you just even start it, give yourself a little bit of grace, give yourself time for that piece of paper to actually materialize into that real solid plan. But I think having it on paper like that, you're more likely to think of little things every day that you can do that are going to get you towards your goal.
Yes, I totally agree that it's just starting off small and just getting your thoughts down on paper, like what direction do you want to go in? What are your goals? What do you want to achieve? Is so important. Exactly. So celebrating small victories is vital for motivation. One of my biggest moments was when a lady at my first craft fair bought like several of my wax melts, candles and tea light packs in one sitting. This was after she had already been to my stall and she had said, "Oh, I'll be back." And that doubt in my mind tells you that will be the last time I will see of that lady. But she came back with her partner a couple of hours later, half an hour before we were about to pack up. And it was the largest order I've ever had at a craft fair. And that feeling of having created something that a complete stranger wanted to buy in such a great volume that I wasn't expecting is such an incredible feeling. You're just so elated and feel so much joy in that moment and such disbelief. But I celebrate small wins with little treats, whether it's a happy dance or a cup of tea and some chocolate biscuits. If I have a few great wins in a week, I might treat myself to a takeaway or watch a favourite movie or TV show when Aston is in bed. That's my win. And whether it's a different win that looks different to you or looks the same, find something that's good for you and what makes you feel good and motivated to keep you going.
I 100% agree with that, because you just have to kind of view those setbacks as learning opportunities, because every challenge helps you grow. So when you do have that moment, that exhilaration, you really want to kind of pocket some of that so you could use it later.
Yes. Delores, can you share a setback you faced and how you overcame it?
Yeah. I mean, I hate to dwell on those, things that happened, but I think one of the worst setbacks that I endured when I had a gift shop with a couple of what were my best girlfriends at the time. We had decided to partner up in creating this little gift shop. And when it broke apart, I mean, it was really, really heartbreaking, honestly. It was a difficult time because suddenly I had no place to retail my product. And we had been so intertwined, just in our friendships. And I don't know, it was just a really a big turning point. Like looking back, I can see it was a big turning point because I had to kind of start thinking about my production. And if I wanted to actually sell anything that I was making, I would have to figure out a way to do it faster. There was just no way that I could, keep doing it the way I had been doing. And, that was a whole messy incident, in my opinion, but it forced me to go out and look at other gift shops, and ideas kind of started coming to me. And at that time, I bought myself a good quality printer. So before that, I didn't have my own printer. We had one collectively as a business. But at that point, I decided to buy my own printer. And that kind of started me on that whole journey of creating my artwork like digitally, or either photographing or scanning it and then adding quotes or whatever. But at least I was able to make art in kind of groupings of, let's say, 6 or 8 pieces. They were, at that point, I was still hand cutting them with a little fret saw, if you can believe it. But I figured out how to mount the artwork onto the boards. And then I had kind of a varnish that I would put on them. And it really, at that point, had forced me into developing my first product line. That was like a first of me ever producing something that I could produce in quantity, that didn't require me to hand paint individually. So it really helped because it had me then getting into these other gift shops in our area, and stuff started to sell. So that changed everything for me because it gave me the confidence that I needed to sell my product. And that was before I ever even started doing craft fairs. So really that setback ended up being quite a boost once I looked at it later. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Setbacks are unfortunately part of life. But yeah, we all go through setbacks, and it is awful when it happens. But then sometimes you can look back and go, okay, yeah, it was horrible, but it helped me grow in a different way and gave me opportunities I probably would never have saw if I'd carried on with that. And
Yeah.
I think that's one takeaway you can take.
Yeah.
To wrap up, turning your creative hobby into a side business is not just achievable, it's a journey filled with excitement and growth, and yes, setbacks, but it is full of joy if you really look at it. And by identifying your niche, starting small, and celebrating every step along the way, you can build something truly beautiful.
Absolutely. And I thank you for joining us today, listening to us talk on and on about this. But remember, no matter what point you're at right now, it's never too late to pursue your passions and turn them into something truly rewarding.
Absolutely.
If anybody wants to hone their creative digital art skills, definitely check out my school. You can find courses for all skill levels. Honestly, I start at the very basics and take you into some really involved kind of projects. I'd love to have you there.
Yeah, she has an awesome school, so I will link that below. If you found this episode helpful, please leave us a review or share it with someone who might benefit. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep creating, keep juggling, and most importantly, keep finding joy in the process. There's a joy in the journey, even on the craziest days.